The truth is not always out there, waiting to be found. Sometimes it is buried in a shallow grave of forgotten evidence and faded memories, waiting only for the silence to become absolute. This is a story that begins with a single, devastating discovery and spirals into one of America's most enduring and heartbreaking cold cases. On a cold February morning in 1957, a young university student was hunting for mushrooms in a wooded area of Fox Chase, Philadelphia. His eyes scanned the damp, leaf-strewn ground, but instead of fungi, he found a sight that would haunt a city for decades. There, discarded like trash in a cardboard box that once held a bassinet, was the small, lifeless body of a young boy. He was naked, wrapped in a cheap flannel blanket, his blonde hair recently and crudely cut. The world now knew him only as the boy in the box. The investigation began with a desperate, citywide effort to put a name to the face. The boy was estimated to be between 4 and 6 years old, with fair skin and blue eyes. He was slight, malnourished, showing signs of past and recent injuries. A post-mortem revealed old fractures that had healed poorly and the scars of a hard, short life. The Philadelphia police, led by dedicated detectives like Remington Bristow, launched a massive campaign. They circulated a reconstructed likeness of the boy's face, a haunting, placid expression that stared out from newspapers and milk cartons. They checked missing children reports, queried schools and hospitals, and followed thousands of tips that led nowhere. The boy's fingerprints were taken, but they matched no one in any database. He was a ghost, a child who had seemingly lived and died without leaving a single official trace. The first major lead came from a desperate source. A woman known only as M contacted the police. She was a resident of a nearby foster home, and her story was bizarre and chilling. She claimed her parents had purchased the boy from his birth mother. One night, she said, the boy had vomited up his dinner of baked beans and was subsequently beaten to death by her mother, who then cleaned him up, cut his hair, and disposed of the body in the now infamous box. She even led investigators to the very home, pointing out the basement where she claimed the brutal act had occurred. The police searched the property but found no concrete evidence to corroborate her gruesome tale. The foster parents vehemently denied everything, and with no physical proof, M's story became just another dark thread in the tangled web of the case, impossible to verify and too specific to completely dismiss. Years turned into decades. Detective Remington Bristow, a man consumed by the case, never gave up. He kept the boy's file on his desk, a constant, grim reminder of a promise unfulfilled. He would visit the boy's grave at Ivy Hill Cemetery, which the city had provided with a headstone that read, "America's Unknown Child." Bristow, and others like him, were tormented by the injustice. How could a child simply vanish from the world without someone, somewhere, mourning his absence? The investigation waxed and waned, its pulse growing fainter with each passing year. The boy's identity became a dark legend, a staple of true crime folklore, his innocent face a symbol of ultimate mystery. Then, in 1998, a flicker of hope emerged from an unexpected corner. A woman came forward with a story from her childhood. She remembered a girl she knew in the late 1950s, a quiet, troubled girl named Martha, who had a younger brother. This brother, she recalled, had simply disappeared one day. The family story was that he had been given away to another family. The woman's memory was the key that unlocked a new, promising avenue. Investigators tracked down the identity of the family. The mother was G, a woman with a history of instability, and the father was a career criminal who had died in a violent shootout. They had several children, and one of them, a boy named Jonathan, had not been seen since 1957. The timeline fit. The location fit. The investigation now had a name to work with: Jonathan. The case was reopened with a modern forensic lens. The boy's body was exhumed in 1998. Scientists extracted DNA, a scientific miracle that hadn't existed when the boy was found. The goal was to compare it with the DNA of Jonathan's living relatives. The tension was palpable. After 40 years of silence, was this finally the moment of revelation? The scientific process was slow, meticulous. The stakes had never been higher. This was no longer just a cold case, it was a potential reckoning for a family with a dark past, a chance to finally answer the question that had tormented a city. Who was the boy in the box? The climax of this decades-long saga arrived not with a bang, but with the quiet, definitive certainty of a DNA match. In 2022, the Vidocq Society, a group of retired investigators dedicated to solving cold cases, announced a breakthrough. Using advanced genetic genealogy, they had positively identified the boy. His name was Joseph Augustus Zarelli. He was born on January 13, 1953. He had a birth certificate. He had parents. He had a name. The name Jonathan had been close, a shadow of the truth passed down through fractured memories. Joseph's parents were Joseph Zarelli and Mary Abel, both deceased. He had siblings on both sides, some of whom never knew he existed. The revelation was seismic. The unknown child was unknown no more. Yet, in solving one profound mystery, the case created another, perhaps even darker one. We now know his name. We know where he lived in West Philadelphia. We know his parentage, but we still do not know how he came to be in that box. The investigation into his death remains open. Who cut his hair? Who wrapped him in that blanket? Who was responsible for the scars that mapped a short life of suffering? The identification of Joseph Augustus Zarelli was not an ending, but a new, more complex beginning. The courtroom drama he deserved never happened. The full truth remains just out of reach, hidden behind the closed doors of a home in 1950s Philadelphia. We have given him back his name, but we have failed to give him justice. His story is a stark reminder that some mysteries are so deep, they reveal their secrets one layer at a time, and the final layer may remain forever buried. He was a boy who lived and died in the shadows, and his memory now stands as a permanent indictment against the silence that surrounded him. He was Joseph Augustus Zarelli, and his short, tragic life is a ghost that will forever walk the halls of American justice. If stories like this keep you hooked, hit subscribe for more.